This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Duerr, brought to you by Hollister Whitney.
I don't think in my entire life I've ever been called wonderful before. Thank you, Sarah Lighthizer. The check is in the mail. This is Saturday, September the 28th, and you have indeed entered the wonderful overtime. Now, this has been a jam-packed day of travel and highlight gathering from every corner of the tri-states, 3 states worth, and that affords us plenty of potential lead stories today. But with everything else that was on the docket, it was hard to ignore the Hannibal-Marshall soccer rivalry renewal that generally decides a North Central Missouri Conference champion every year, especially with Marshall unbeaten coming in. Tall order for Eric Hill's team. I said what I said. Clayton Nyson is an all-stater. He was put to duress and test early, and he stood up to it like an all-stater. Great save there. He's not done. The entire first half was Clayton Nyson taking opportunities away from the Owls in this one. He would do it time and again. Still scoreless in the first half. Nyson with yet another takeaway in this one. Just a brick wall at the back end of this thing. How about one more from Mr. Nyson right here in the second half to start things off. Hannibal had to play a man down in the second half, but check it out right here. This is the Kevin Westhoff machine. He is so good off restarts, and that is your golden goal, everybody. And Westhoff, who missed a PK earlier in the match, gets a little measure of redemption for himself. And man, you gotta love it when you're Hannibal and you get a chance at a game this chippy to stick it to the Owls, which is exactly what Eric Hill's crew did. They've been incredible this fall. 1-0 is your final in that contest. Couple of other soccer scores today from the prep docket to pass along to you. A very hard-fought battle today by the Canton Tigers against a good Festa squad to wrap up the Winfield tournament, but not a win for Sarah Mueller's squad. Still kind of a moral victory for the Tigers, who continue to improve as the season moves on. Quincy High School wrapped up in the Great River Classic up in Bettendorf, taking on a very good De La Salle squad and falling in that one. 3-0 was your final, and a hard luck loss late today for the Macomb Bomber soccer squad at home as Illini Bluffs got them at the tail end of this thing. 2-1 was your final there. We got to wrap up some high school football. Illini West today on the road taking on LVC, trying to get their record to 2-3 on the season, a real chance to make some hay. Man, if you haven't met Rowan Jackson, meet him here. He is an absolute Category 5 hurricane of destruction to start this game, and he just never relented in this one. 2 TFLs to start the game off on the second drive of the day. This, my friends, Mr. Johnson working. Nick squirms his way for 32 yards right here. That would set up the quarterback, Ethan Carlisle, who is dynamic and athletic and good. The keeper is good. 4th and 1 at the 1-yard line. I guess we can call that 4th and goal at this point. How about a little Nick Johnson in for the score? 2-point was thwarted. 6-0 Chargers at this point. And the road to Rowan today was the road to ruin for LVC. They had no answer for this fella. Check him out, closing off the edge. Rowan Jackson was an all-conference player last year. He continues to play like this. He's going to be an all-stater this season. Picking up more fun this time. The passing game working nicely. It's Carlisle to Trey Niederman right here. Big pickup for a first down. Sets the wheels back in motion right here. Some trickery, some chicanery inside. And it's Max Kinneman on his way to the end zone to extend the lead at that point to 12-0. To 2-point would be good as well in this one. And yeah, the defense goes back to work. This time, Jaden Combites with the strict sack, and it would be Justin Baxter who comes up with the loose ball for the Chargers in this one, and they would go back to work right away. Ethan Carlisle going to have the wide open receiver. I lost this one a little in the sun. Apologies for that, but what a great catch on the back end by Nick Johnson. Made it 20-0 at this point. Again, Mr. Kinneman going to be the 2-point specialist. Love the little toss, and look at the wide open lane to 2 more points right there. Again, Rowan Jackson, this isn't even the best of his takedown action. I got a really good one coming later in this highlight. I can't wait to show you. It might be sensational 7-worthy in terms of a hit. How about Carlisle to Kinneman again, this time for 6, and then this 2-point conversion by those same 2 guys as well made it 30-0 at that point. More from the defense. Brady Blanton tried to get his name in the highlight reels. That is a forceful hit that caused the fumble. Here's that Rowan Jackson fun I talked about. Yeah, that's a sack and a half, my friends. All Illini West in this one as the Chargers get the win 50-16 on the road. They're 2-3 on the season after that rough start, and the schedule is kind of favorable right now. Do not sleep on the Illini West Chargers at this point. All right, which brings us to our power poll for the week. Not a lot of shuffling based on what we've done. I'll remind you, we still have 4 undefeated teams left in tri-state football, and 2 of them will play each other this week. We moved Van Far into the top 6. Quality win this week over Montgomery County. And I tell you what, that big road trip for Bowling Green down to Van Far is going to be kind of fun this week. Don't sleep on Van Far. We talked about them earlier this week with the addition of the Douglas twins. They've got a lot of offensive weapons, and Bowling Green needs a test. Again, Bowling Green will be the prohibitive favorite. They should be as the number 2 team in the state in Class 2. And for the last 2 years, one of the top 5, both years, top 5 scoring teams in the country, according to Max Prep. So that's big. Obviously, Quincy High with a great win this week. South Shelby looked really, really good yet again, albeit against Highland. I know Highland's struggling, but South Shelby got their quarterback back and had a chance to make some things happen with a healthy Chase Mullering. And how about Quincy Notre Dame? Man, maybe the story of the early season with what they've been able to do, the hard scrabble win. If you missed those highlights last night, we've got that game winner for you. And man, what a dude Wyatt Mueller has been in crunch time. Scored with 149, I think, last night to make that happen. Quincy Notre Dame's rolling right now. They got a big one in 2 weeks with Jacksonville. Still got to get past next week at home. But, man, it's been a fun start to the season. All about it in Duerrisms a little later this week. By the way, speaking of football, we had some history made in the Tri-States last night. You might not know about it. Trey Goss, who has been so effective this season for Jacksonville route, coming off the edge, had unofficially 8 quarterback sacks last night in one game. If the IHSA record book is to be believed, that would tie him for the single game performance record. This is not a one-off for Goss, who's been great in every game. Really tough off the corner for the Rockets. They were debating whether he might have had a 9th. I got a chance to see that video. I don't think you can call a quarterback draw a sack. So I think they will have to register 8 quarterback sacks officially. Barry Creviston and his crew will decide that when they try to turn that into the IHSA. But what a performance for Trey Goss at the expense of the Unity Mustangs. Now, I promised you some North Shelby highlights from last night because we didn't get to it. We had some video problems. We still had some video problems today. I am going to talk a little bit about the huge win last night for the Raiders on homecoming against Paris. It was powered by Gannon Bowen, the best sophomore in all of 8-man football, who had 245 rushing yards last night. You see him here, and 3 touchdowns. This is the drive, and it was all Gannon Bowen at this point that set things up for the score. But Bowen had 245 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And then you might also have, if not the best, one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in all of 8-man football in Jade Daniel. He's certainly one of the 2 or 3 best defensive backs. He had 149 yards rushing last night, 3 touchdowns for the Raiders. He was also 4 of 4 passing for a touchdown as well. North Shelby is back rolling right now. And again, this is a team that I think cracks back into, or at least has a chance to crack back into the Missouri 8-man rankings coming up this week when that is released on Monday. Some golf today. Good showing at Bunker Links by Quincy Notre Dame and Quincy High today. Quincy Notre Dame gets the win. That's 2 wins this weekend for the Raiders, just in time for the start of regionals next week. Can you believe on Wednesday we already have our first postseason action this fall? That's incredible. Macomb's showing out really well as well, tying Quincy High with a 322 today. As you look at the individual scores, the story yet again for the second time this weekend is Bo F. Tink playing the medalist honors. He had a 69 today. Just lights out for Bo right now. Don't look too far behind him. His teammate Oliver Hendry is heating up really nicely in that number 2 spot as well. Macomb getting a nice showing from Nick Parkins and from Brady Skelf today. And Ty Novosel is getting it back after battling that wrist the last 2 years. Fired a 74 today in tough conditions. We also had the Slug Milby. I was trying to get there, but guys, it's not easy to drive from Ewing, Missouri, all the way to Cuba, Illinois, and stop at Rushville in between. So I missed my mark. Rushville Industry wins at home in the Slug Milby today over Pittsfield and Illini West. Reed Freitag, who was the medalist this week in the conference meet, fired another 71 on his home track. Do not sleep on Rushville Industry. And we are just getting warmed up on this big overtime show. I've got a phenomenal softball battle to show you between Clarence Cannon Conference Superpowers, and coming up at the end of the show, something that has not happened in tri-state sports in 1,064 days. Hayden's really excited about this story. That's coming up next when Overtime continues.
This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Duerr, brought to you by Hollister Whitney.
Huge matchup on the diamond today, though not as big as the one that will occur between Macon and Highland on Tuesday. That's the conference match today. Both teams masking and hiding away their ace pitchers, at least at first. Bottom of the first, great bunt right there by Abby Lay. Speaking of ace pitchers, getting the job done with the bat, made it 1-0. We're still not done. Hannah Ritterbusch, do your thing. Seeing I single up the center of the field, made it 2-0 at that point. Then it's Kat Darnell. It's the year of the cat. Good work from her, makes it 3-0 at that point. Could have been worse for Macon, but check out Reese Barnett, who is an all-state caliber player, both with the glove and the bat. Unassisted double play gets her team out of the jam, and Macon goes right back to work. What a day for Maddie Claypool. Man, can she swing it a little bit. Touches off a Tigerette uprising right here. A 2-run single for her. Then it's Peyton Weimer. Speaking of the other ace pitcher in this one, she too can do it with the bat. Couple more runs come home to score. Reese Barnett, that lefty swing of hers with so much torque, makes it 6-3 Macon just like that. And all of a sudden, you know what? Highland wasn't messing around anymore. Abby Lay back in to pitch at this point, and to try to keep the game close, she does just that. Still, Highland can't get anything going, at least to this point, because Macon's got really good defense. Hey, Reese Barnett, we see you. Nice jump and catch right there. Bottom of the fifth, though, 5 runs for the Cougars. Couple of them were gimmicky. This one was not. Abby Lay with a 3-run bomb. I finally got my first Highland home run after seeing them like 6 times already this season. 9-6 at that point. In comes Peyton Weimer, and no, Macon is not screwing around anymore. Leanne Hamlin going to her ace there right here. And you know what? Highland wouldn't score again. So they're up at that point 9-6. At this point, they're now up 9-8 with 2 outs at the top of the first. The tying run at third base. A wild pitch would score Tegan Nelson. Your next hitter in this one is Lexi Barnes. She's going to put the ball in play, and Highland can't handle it. And that ball is going to let the go-ahead run score, and Peyton Weimer is going to shut things down. We'll do this all over again on Tuesday with the aces on the hill, but Macon gets the win in this one, 10-9. Also in that cluster today, a couple of scores to pass along from that one. It would be Bowling Green falling to Macon today, 9-6 your final in that contest, and then a big win for Highland, who you remember was eliminated by Bowling Green last year in the postseason. Second time this year that Highland has beaten Bowling Green this season. Final count in that one was 13-2. Hannah Ritterbusch still hot at the plate. Let's take you to the Louisiana tournament today. Preliminary action. Louisiana taking on Hannibal in this one. 0-0 in the top of the first. How about this? Arabella Campbell with a sac fly. Going to score Sydney Phillips. The Pirates had the early lead in this one, but it would be very, very short-lived. Bottom of the first, coming up to plate, it is Katie Wallace. Her grounder is going to be enough to plate a run. She is safe. The run scores. It's a 1-1 game. Same inning. It's Peyton Anderson time, doing the bloop single thing to score Maddie Chandler. Remember that name. Maddie Chandler having a monster year. We'll talk about that in a second. Louisiana's lead now 3-1. Still in the first inning. Nice grab defensively by Hannibal to try to thwart things. Coming up by Kennedy Gibbons, the second great web gem we've gotten out of the Lady Pirates, left side of the infield this week. Good stuff for her right there as well. How about some Maddie Chandler time? She is, I believe, sitting on 4 home runs. This might be number 5 on the season. All Louisiana as they win this one. 16-1 was your final. Meanwhile, Monroe City and Clark County, kind of a thriller. Picked this one up with Monroe City with an early 10-5 lead in this one. Some nice fielding by the pitcher, Tatum Foltz, right here to try to help her own cause at that point. But Clark County is about to put together a heck of a comeback in this one. It will start with Maggie Wheeler with an RBI single right here to cut the lead down to 10-6. We're not done. A bases loaded walk with later plate Maggie Wheeler. It's a 10-8 game. Oh my goodness. Is Monroe City going to let this slide? How about a little bit of this? Miss Amelia Fox getting an RBI single as well following the walk to make it 10-9. In comes Audrey Youngblood. And away goes the thread as Monroe City ends up winning this thing 10-9 would be your final as Monroe City advances to the championship game. It's a good thing they held off Clark County because they'd win the whole darn stinking thing today with a big-time upset win over Ellsbury. Also in the third place game today at Paris, it was North Shelby being felled for the second time this season by the host squad. Paris is really good. 2-1 your final in that one. Reese Sutton with a home run there. And in the, fifth place game in that one, South Shelby gets its second win in 2 weeks over Mark Twain. By the way, got to shout out Bronwyn Harding, who's been so impressive this season for the Lady Tigers. She set the school's new RBI record for single season. So good for Bronwyn. She does it in the circle. She does it at the plate. Incredibly talented young lady. Let's do some volleyball. Remember, earlier this season, Central Lee pulled off that rarest of upsets over the powerhouse Holy Trinity. Those two teams meeting in the first round of the Super Conference Finals today. And early on, Holy Trinity looked like a team bent on revenge. And it starts right here, yes, with Anna Benlogi being clever off the net. Kenna Sendoval, though, look at the little trick set from her. You want to talk about clever. Central Lee is not giving any quarter, nor should they, after beating Holy Trinity earlier this season. Presley Myers doing Presley Myers type things. This is the avalanche, the barrage, if you will, of Presley Myers. Kills goodness back to back right there to get it started. But again, give Central Lee credit. They were not intimidated, and they would go to their middle hitter, Taylor Jones, who's pretty talented in her own right. Nice set. Beautiful finish off the back end of that through contact and an attempted block. You know what, though? Anna Benlogi has just really come into her own, you know, and finally living in nobody else's shadow. Beautiful little dump in right there. Adeline Cruzy, who hits the ball as hard as anyone. You remember her freshman year breakout. We still got 3 more years of this kind of goodness in the highlights. Adeline Cruzy lets fly. Central Lee, though, trying to come back in this one, playing some defense in the net in this first set with Kylie Fortune trying to spur things in this one, and her block is effective at that point, and the smile is winning on the back end of that as well. And then it's Taylor Jones serving up the ace, but you know what? From that point forward, Holy Trinity had had enough of the tomfoolery and the poppycock in this one. They would go to work. It's Benlogi again, then Emma Moorfield delivering all Holy Trinity as they sweep past Central Lee in straight games, 25-12, 25-14. Thanks to my man John Bonenkamp for sending us scores, because he is the absolute best. And at the back end of all of this, Holy Trinity ends up winning the whole darn thing today as they end up beating West Burlington in 3. I put those scores in the wrong place. They're incredibly small. Sorry about that. 25-14, 22-25, 17-15. The guy with the bad eyes is straining to get you that score. But Holy Trinity does punch their ticket to a championship tonight, so congratulations to Melissa Friesmeyer and crew. Passing along some tennis today, Quincy Notre Dame falls to O'Fallon, the only win for the Lady Raiders at number 2 doubles. And today in cross country at the Monrose Invite, great showing for the Quincy Notre Dame girls. Not a huge field, but a really nice showing yet again for the freshman Elsie Waters, who gets the win and leads her team to a victory today. The Q&D boys end up finishing 3rd. Oliver Moore is your low raider with a time of 18:45. We have not talked about a Western Illinois football win in 1,064 days. I'm going to show you highlights of one next.
This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Duerr, brought to you by Hollister Whitney.
Leatherneck fans, your long 27-game national nightmare is over. Joe Davis is a winner. New coach went 0-3 to start this season. He is not winless anymore. Taking on McKendree, and check out the fun right here by the defense. Man, good stuff right off the bat with the quarterback sack at that point, and that allows Nathan Lamb to go to work. Check out this catch by Matthew Henry. It stays in the air, levitates, and he catches it off his own fingertips. 33 yards. Are you kidding me? That would set up this Nathan Lamb on the keeper from 2 yards out, and after trailing 3-0 to a Division II school, Western Illinois is on the board as they should be, and the lead, and they would play well from that point forward. It's Cameron Smith time. Had himself a pretty good night. Little pass right here sets up the offense in motion, and that's going to allow the Leathernecks to get the scoring fun going in this one. Little reverse pivot in this one. Damari Davis in from 17 yards for the score, and then it's Avery Knight time as Western Illinois gets the win over McKendree. You can couch it any way you want. This is a win for the Leathernecks. It's a starting point, and I don't think it'll be the last this season. 49-32 is your final. Meanwhile, back in the Gem City, Quincy University trying to go to 3-0 on the season, up 20-7 on the Peacocks of Upper Iowa at the half. Defense still having good moments in the second half. Who else? Brock Inman. Happy birthday, Brock Inman, with the big-time stop right there. A little bit later, it's Brandon Granger coming up here with the quarterback sack as well. Little feasting fun. Later in that drive, 4th down, Monty Morrow drops one right here, and it's QU's football. But Quincy University's offense wildly disjointed in the second half, and that was the storyline as Upper Iowa is able to come all the way back and hand the Hawks their first loss. They went up 29-20. Western scored a late touchdown, could not get the onside kick in this one, and they fall 29-27 for the first time this season. Jason Kilday's squad will attempt to try to bounce back next week. Other college scores, it was not very good on many fronts football-wise anyway today. Although Truman State has its first win of the season under the other Coach Nesbitt. So congratulations to the Bulldogs. 31-17 over in Kirksville today. Culver Stockton is still winless, losing to nationally ranked Grandview at home. 45-13 was your final there. And the Quincy University sprint football team loses today. At least we think they lost. They haven't updated the score on the live stream since, what, like it started at 5, so this was the last score we saw, 33-6 with 2 minutes left in the ball game. I believe Calumet College ended up getting that victory. Some other scores to pass along before I leave you tonight. John Wood in women's soccer, big win on the road today over Parkland. The Culver Stockton women fall to nationally ranked Mo Valley. It was the Quincy University volleyball squad staying red hot with a huge win today over, yet this time, another GLVC foe in Missouri S&T. And how about the Western Illinois women? One of their most impressive wins in a long time. Straight sets over SIUE for the second time this weekend. Former Q&D product Sydney Hummert had 13 kills in a losing cause.